Hi, I'm Sherri.
And I'm Lana. And this is Real Estate Tips with SNL.
Thanks for tuning in. Today we want to talk to you buyers. We want to talk about your search criteria. When you're looking for a home, is it going to be this or that?
This or that. Okay. Well, let's start out with the first and foremost. Where do you want to live? What's the location look like? What town? What city? What county?
Not what country.
Not what country.
Or what state. We're here in Massachusetts, but we are looking at location. So what does that look like for you? So when you're looking for locations, I know that it used to be that I would get buyers that were very specific about wanting only one town or one side of town or things like that. I am finding that buyers are starting to expand their search because of the low inventory that we have. So when you get that, from your buyers and you're checking out location, what are you looking for or asking them to help them narrow that down?
Right. So I kind of focus on lifestyle. So I say to them, okay, so is there a specific town you want to live in? And then I'll break it down like, is there certain amenities recreational? Are you a skier? Are you a biker? Are you a hiker? We have so much recreation in Massachusetts. So I try to focus around that. So if they pick a town, a specific town, I'll say, great. It sounds like you might also be interested in these. What do you think about that? Or let's just explore a little bit. So I try to listen to their lifestyle needs and try to expand so that at least they have some options to look at.
Right. Yep.
And what other things do you find?
Well, I think that's definitely key. Also, area amenities. Are you looking for a commuter rail maybe to travel into, Boston or easy highway access? Or do you like to be where the center of the action is? Do you want to be close to restaurants and shopping and
the best bar in the area?
Okay, the best bar in the area.
Or karaoke sites.
So, okay, all right, karaoke. This mic is here for a reason. So
here we go. We get a little bit of country.
But whatever it might be, are there things that you like to do?
Right.
And my to do might be not as active as your to do.
Right.
But we're still, finding that fit for our clients' needs.
So I want to make sure, is it this or that, meaning more so about let's not like isolate into one town. Let's just have a variety to choose from because of our lack of inventory.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So, okay. So a couple other things that come up is a country road or a main road. And so for me, I try to listen to the lifestyle. Again, if we're going to stick on the recreational side, a lot of people want to be abutted to conservation, having a little bit more land, maybe abutted to, a lot of people like the attraction of the mountain that, they can have the skiing and the hiking and whatnot. Or the lakes and ponds that we have, they like, what do we get? Well, waterfront or close by, or how do I get access? So sometimes those aren't main roads, those are back roads.
Right. And again, understanding what that lifestyle looks like. And only because you mentioned lake, I'm going to go there for you. Because Lana, you had a few years back purchased a home on a lake. And it's a lake that has I don't know if it's full recreation or limited recreation.
Full.
So what does that look like? Because I think sometimes people visualize lakefront living as being this serene, peaceful, it's on Golden Pond, we're going to be fly fishing, that sort of thing. And I think in some cases it may actually be that, but being specific to what does that waterfront mean to you? You have full recreation, and I think what you've got is a blast. Your steps to having fun right out your door.
Right, but you got to think about that too. I was looking for a full recreation water access, but when you have that, you're going to have morning, noon, night. Right, you're going to have motorboats. You're going to have jet skis. You're going to have just people out because they have any variety. Water skiing, tubing, everything is there. But you're also probably close knit. You're probably, not have a lot of acreage. And so you're going to be not on top, but you're going to be close by. So there's going to be a lot of music and there's a lot of, activities and stuff. So you just got to be aware of that. If you're looking for that quiet little secluded space, then you're looking for a waterfront doesn't have the ability to have full recreation,
I noticed too, when visiting at your home, as I do like to come by for those occasional invitations to go for a boat ride, and but when you're out on the water, sounds carry, and I feel like sometimes we're sitting there and we can hear conversations, and they're not near us, but they're in the water, and it just carries that sound. Or you can see, the people that are across the way. And lakes, I think, also carry different styles of homes. You might have, more of a camp cottage that people are there, on weekends or during the summer. And then you'll have the year-round residences. And I've seen, like $1 million plus properties, and then, everything, in between.
In between.
Yes. So I do feel like lakes or waterfront living offers something very different than the traditional, I don't know, maybe traditional is the wrong word, but for the other searches that we do.
Yeah.
So we liked the idea of lakefront living. We didn't find that property. They don't come up that often. So plan B was we'll buy a house and we'll put in a pool.
Right.
So we're waterfront now. We just don't have any jet skis.
But like you were just saying, do you want property with some land? I mean, typically in our towns, there's an acreage requirement, right? So a lot of times if you're going into a city, you're not going to have enough acreage to put maybe an in-ground pool because you might not, you won't see that as often. So these towns that have a little bit more acreage and whatnot, you will have the ability to add on your waterfront, a pool or whatnot. But, sometimes it's challenging to find that when people are looking for that land. So having a variety of towns and then deciding, do we want to be mainstream or back roads is going to be important too.
Right. I know that there are some people who say I would not want to live on a main road, and there are other people who think that is where they want to be. There's something that is referred to as a walk score.
Yep.
And you can Google this. So obviously more common in bigger cities. So if we're in Boston, where a lot of people don't own cars, there's just nowhere to park them. So, being able to walk to different, to your job, to your
commuter rail.
Any kind of transit system, or ride a bicycle, what does that look like? Those things may be important to that particular buyer. For the heck of it, I went to walkscore.com in preparation for this. And I put in 54 Green Street in Leominster, which is the Wellington, which is condos. And it's right next to Doyle Field, where we have a lot of activities in Leominster with the high school sports. The pickleball courts are nearby, all of that. I think it's a great location. So according to walkscore.com, and I don't know, maybe it is 63 on the WalkScore scale.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you want that number to be higher or lower, but it's a 63. Okay. Now, as far as transit, it's a 30. And then for bikeable, it is 58. I'm just wondering if that's updated because they also put that rail trail in there now, which runs sort of behind it, which would be great for riding a bike. But
everything, walking and whatnot.
Again, I guess I'm not going to speak to, the content of walkscore.com, but because I don't think we use it very much here.
Right.
But for some people in some of the bigger cities, absolutely. And maybe they can tell us what that means.
True. What about condo versus single family versus multifamily? Like, what are we looking to buy? Sometimes people limit themselves where they'll say, I just want to live at a single family. But what if you had a condo that was like a detached? So now it acts and looks like a single family, but it has the qualities of a condo. So maybe you're missing out on an opportunity that could have the ability of, recreational biking, walking trails or whatnot, and you're missing out on that. I don't know. I try to keep people's thought process open and just, at least have an opportunity to go view. Because if you take that out of your criteria, then now you don't even have a chance to even see if it's an option.
Right. I agree with you. I've had people, perhaps they were working with a budget that was a little bit low for a single family home, but was perfect for a condo.
Right.
And understanding too that when we say condo, that means condo/townhouse, something that is part of a complex, if you will.
Right.
And one of the perks I think, that I hear at least from my clients, and I used to own a condo, so I get it. You did too, I loved that I did not need to own a shovel.
Yep.
I love that I did not need a lawnmower. Yeah. And to know that that's all taken care of, and it's still beautiful. A lot of these complexes are managed by professional companies that bring in these amazing landscapers and flowers and all of this that comes with all of that. Additionally, sometimes the complex might have a swimming pool, tennis court.
Right, that's what I mean, the recreation.
Yeah, could have a clubhouse, could have a gym, could have a number of things. So sometimes you're getting everything you need. And it's also a great investment, depending on the complexes. I've had people who've hung on to it when they've gone on to buy a single family. And, if it's allowed within the complex, they rented it out as income.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And, the multifamily, I don't discourage at least looking, because think about duplexes.
Yes.
Right? You have a side by side. It is a multifamily. It's two family, two separate, but it does appear and look like single family. So you might miss out, because if you have a duplex, you got family that maybe wants to live next door, or, it's an investment.
Right.
So now you can have a little bit of help on mortgage payments or whatnot, or even help on yard work or whatnot. But I just don't want to limit the criteria of just picking one, because it could be the option for so many others.
Also, to note that with a multifamily, and this would be a conversation to have with your lender also, but you do not need to go to commercial financing if it's 4 units or less. And obviously,
and if you're living there,
and if you're living there, I guess that's what I meant. And thank you for clarifying that, because that can pay your mortgage. You're living in one unit and you've got the other units that are basically taking care of your mortgage and maybe putting a little cash in your pocket. And the more units that you have, the more opportunity, because there could be a period of time where you have a vacant unit while you're looking for a new tenant. And you could bring, maybe you're buying with your brother or sister, your cousin, your friend or whatever, and it might be a good opportunity. So, absolutely. And if you own the building and you have a yard and you want to put in that, swimming pool or whatever, you can still do all of that.
Right.
So, the return on your investment, I think, is great. What about single families that have a restrictive covenants?
So like in neighborhoods and whatnot?
Yeah. I feel like the few that I know of today, and I'm thinking in Leominster, just because that's where our office is, were a lot of these places that were built, maybe in the 90s and, and then they might have had like a 20-year restrictive covenant that has since expired. But there may be some still out there. And I think that what that does oftentimes, and you'd have to read the, the deed and the paperwork on that. But sometimes it means that, you cannot paint your house a certain color. You can't have commercial vehicles, in your driveway long term. You
can't use vinyl siding. You can only paint, things like that. So I think that's something to think about in, when you're looking in subdivisions, you got to take that into consideration. So having a little bit more criteria of different styles or locations really going to make a big difference.
Right. Yard size.
Yeah.
Big versus small.
Yeah.
So I have 7 acres of land. We probably are utilizing maybe 2 acres.
Right.
And then the rest is woods behind us that we get to pay taxes on.
But you have the privacy.
But we do have the privacy. And then my husband does put trails back there and he plays. I don't go back there. That's his domain. But some people prefer a smaller yard. I mean, it's a lot of work caring, for a large property with, well, I don't know. I'm sitting in my house. But you go out there with a lawnmower.
But the other thing is, sometimes my buyers will say, well, I want a yard. I don't want this little postcard. But I find that try not to keep that criteria so tight, because you could have a small yard, but again, abutting against conservation or on a dead end street. And, there's a lot of things that you could miss out if your criteria is too tight for that.
Yes.
So trying to keep that a little open. And these are just suggestions when you're, making your criteria list, so that it just gives you some ideas like, oh, I never thought of that. Like, I don't want to limit that. Instead of just worrying about the style and location, everything, these are other things to think about. Again, I encourage drive-bys. I encourage people to take a look at the areas, because you could just be missing, like I said, the dead-end street that someone's like, I didn't even know that was a dead-end street.
Right. And especially, maybe it is backing up to conservation land. Now that is where you get all that acreage that you're not paying taxes on.
Nice.
Nice. And if it's state land, you could probably still access it, just don't take a tree down.
So I know I do have some that are very specific about this, but some things to think about is, we do have some rural towns, and septic versus sewer, city water versus well. Does that matter to someone? I mean, we know that there's a bill for sewer and city water. We know there's going to be a bill charge.
Yes.
But there's also maintenance on septic and a well. So it really comes down to preference for that. But limiting your criteria on that could be a difficult thing, only because of our rural towns. And I was saying that because Leominster might have full city water, city sewer, there is still some sections in Leominster.
My first home, I had private water and septic in Leominster, and which you probably don't think of, because it is Leominster. I feel like that there's pros and cons to everything. Now I'm going to go back to wearing my new construction hat for just a moment. So if you're buying a new home and it is septic and well, that is a brand new system.
Exactly.
And it should last you for many, many years. And it does require some care.
Right.
You have to be careful what you're flushing, and you want to take care of it. The private water. I personally, I have well and septic. I enjoy not having a bill.
Yeah.
I also enjoy not worrying when my child wants to take a 30-minute shower.
Yeah, exactly.
And
totally.
And I'm not going to lie, that may have happened, a time or two when I was paying for the water, and that's when you're more heightened awareness to it. But I do appreciate that. But on the flip side, I have had people who absolutely want no part of it. And especially if you've got a house that maybe the septic system is already 30 or 40 years old. And if you have to replace that, that could be expensive.
Right.
So I think it's just going into this and knowing, what your potential costs are.
True. Radon mitigation.
Yes. So what is radon?
Well, natural gas is in the air, right? So it's around us all the time. It's just the matter when the levels get too high that there's some study that says that it causes cancer.
Correct.
So as far as houses with it, there are some that have a mitigation system set up already. And I know new construction, don't they set up like a passive always? It's code.
It's code. So they're not putting a fan in. It's just a pipe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, it never bothered me. But obviously, getting it tested is important to know if there's going to be, if you're in the living area.
Right.
But if there's a mitigation system in there already, that's terrific, because it will automatically tell you if it's not functioning anymore, and the maintenance is just a fan.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So is it good or bad? If you're having the system installed, then it's doing its job.
Yes.
If you don't have one and you want to test it, perfectly test it. But if you can see that the house is breathing and it's, it's not tight and you don't have carpets up the windows downstairs, then it's probably fine.
Did you see a house like that recently?
No, but I heard, but I haven't seen it. No. Who would have thought? But anyways.
No. Well, now, carpeting. What you just described, I immediately got a visual of a house that I had shown many years ago when we went down into the basement. This would have been when they called it, what did they say, a rumpus room or something like that.
Yeah.
You remember these are older sayings,
Yeah.
and I think it was like this bright red carpeting, and it went halfway up the wall, and then there was plywood, the not ply. What the heck am I thinking of?
I know what you're meaning. Paneling.
Paneling.
Yes.
Paneling. Thank you. So paneling for the rest of the way up, and then it had the bar that had like the cushioned, part for you to rest your elbows on, and the little stools. It was in great shape.
Yeah.
But everything around there, I felt like I wanted to smoke a cigarette and have some whiskey and sit down here while we play, I don't know, Twister.
That's funny. I love it. I can totally see it.
But yeah. Speaking of that, again, now we'll get into, do you want an older home or do you want a newer home? Because, hey, that's some pretty good character, and I'm not saying you can't replicate that. I don't know who's doing it, but invite me. Yeah. Whatever party you're having, invite me. And I don't smoke. I won't do that. But to me, a lot of people want the older home because they are looking for something that's unique, but with that might also mean that you've got, pipes in your house that are 100 years old. Mm-hmm. You've got, maybe some knob and tube wiring or fuse boxes. You might have a slate roof.
Right.
Although I have to say that I have a relative who loves slate roofs because when you need to make a repair, which you pretty much do have, after every winter, but you're taking care of one slate, you're not replacing an entire roof.
Yeah.
I have a friend that we both know who used to have one, and she would climb up on that roof and do all that herself. God bless her, not me, not me. No. But yeah,
I think there is niche buyers, right? There's some people that like log homes, specifically want a log home.
Those are cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then obviously we talked about, the older, so 1800s, 1900s, Victorian, anything. But I think try not to limit, because just leaving it at that and keeping it open, because if it's not a specific name, but maybe it's 1930, 1940, maybe it is a large house that you're looking for, but some things might come up that, it's been renovated or it's been, brought back to life, so to speak, instead of you going in and it's just left the way it has been.
Right.
And I think there's some longevity for your ownership there when there's some work been done.
That's true. I mean, maybe a house that does need work and you are handy.
True.
And you have the uncle that's the electrician or any family members that could help you.
Yeah.
The house that needs work may be appealing. But also with the new construction, you're getting a builder's warranty, so that provides some peace of mind.
Yeah.
But if you don't have new construction, we have a home warranty that could actually, through Coldwell Banker, this is something that we could get a buyer or a seller if they were interested. Yeah. So there's still warranties that can be purchased to, give that little added peace of mind for the first year or so of home ownership.
Or you can purchase it later, further along too.
Yes.
But
lots
that's
of options.
Yeah, that's a great option for people to have some comfort, especially the unknown.
Yeah.
You were just talking about new homes and new construction. And people are a little nervous about, I get this all the time. Mm-hmm. The buyers will say, okay, I do not want to look at new construction because I do not want a cookie cutter house.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily a cookie cutter house.
Well, I mean, I think that it really depends. It can be.
Oh,
it can be. And so if you're not working with my builder, no, I mean, because there are some builders who are not going to make any kind of modifications to their plans, and obviously a builder that's building in volume in a shorter period of time is used to building a certain product. Mm-hmm. It makes it easier to move on from one home to the next home to the next home, and they do tend to be similar in appearance. But it doesn't have to be. You absolutely can make changes. And sometimes the changes are subtle enough that it takes away that cookie cutter look or feel to it.
Right.
If you wanted to build your kitchen in the family room, for example. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that there are options for what you could. I built my kitchen in the family room.
In your family room.
Okay. But I think there are options, when you are building, that gives you that opportunity to, make it less like the neighbor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want people to, again, it's this or that, right? I don't want people just to say, I don't want new construction, because again, it could be exactly what you're looking for out there, and your new construction's right there. Just with a little bit of modifications,
Yeah.
So
all right. So let's just say that we've narrowed down our dream home, and we want to live in Leominster.
Okay.
And we want to be on a quiet side street.
Yeah.
But still have a good walk score, whatever that is. And we want to make sure that it's a single family home.
Okay.
And no restrictive covenants. We want a big yard. And we want public water and public sewer.
All right.
Okay. We do not want a radon mitigation system. And if it needs it, we want the seller to put it in.
Yeah.
All right. We still want some character, but we don't want a house that's older than 30 years old.
Okay.
Okay. And we do want it to be updated. All right. And we want it to be within this price range.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 homes on the market that fit my criteria. So now what? Do you want this? Or do you want that?
Exactly.
Now, maybe you should extend or expand that criteria a little bit.
Let's see what else we can find on the market.
Yeah. Well, it's spring market, so that's good news. And I'm definitely seeing a lot of new listings coming on. And hopefully, not hopefully, definitely, Lana or I will help you find your dream home.
Yes.
So you can reach us at Coldwell Banker in Leominster, and be sure to subscribe so that you can be notified whenever we have new episodes. We do hope that this was good content for you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to include in future episodes.
Thank you.
Thank you.